Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Wandering Tales, where we are about to embark on a new campaign. This is something I've been working on for several months. It's Free Leagues Vaesen role-playing game, which is amazing. I love it. It's one of my favorites. Although I've kind of set it somewhere different this time, so you'll just have to find out where we end up. But joining me is Sharon, Blake, Jim, and Jared. So we got two newbies and two
Repeat offenders.
repeat offenders, indeed.
Recidivists.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. And just for our audience, as a heads up, this is a horror RPG, and there are going to be themes that we touch on, which not everyone is going to enjoy. Having said that, I don't think anything is particularly hardcore. Just approach it with an open mind, I guess. If it's going to territory that you're not comfortable with, it might be worth skipping that particular episode or that story arc. But otherwise, we do hope you enjoy what we get up to. So yeah, let's get this little campaign on the road. Buckle up. Welcome to Vaesen. So I'm going to start by telling you a little story. This takes place in Dunmellington, Scotland, in September 1846. So it's almost 2 decades before your current time. The horse's side heaved, its flanks covered with flecks of white foam as it strained to haul the carriage over the cobblestones at breakneck speeds. The light drizzle that had started at dusk had become a pouring rain, making the stones slick. The carriage wheels rattled and slid over the surface as it dangerously swayed side from side. The family inside the carriage clung to each other as they were pitched violently back and forth. Outside, the driver cracked the whip frantically and called at the horse to give it its all. Inside, a little boy, no older than 3, shivered and clung to his mother, tears streaming down his little cherubic face. She tried to hush and console him, but her own voice trembled in fear. She stroked his hair while his father cursed at the creature pursuing them, his own eyes wild in fright. They rattled over the stone bridge of the River Lark, desperately trying to make it to the safety of Mildenhall. They were so close. They had maybe only a kilometre or 2 to go. The carriage suddenly lurched wildly and shuddered, pitching over on 2 wheels for a moment as one of the wheels struck a fallen tree branch on the ground. It hung there, perfectly balanced for a heartbeat. And then with a snap, the left axle collapsed under the weight. The traces strained, and with a scream of terror from the horse and the humans alike, the whole carriage rolled over. Once. Twice. The night sky was quiet, broken by the soft creak of settling and shattered timbers. Inside the carriage, the woman looked up at the night sky through the shattered door. She shakenly reached out and felt for her son's hand in the all-consuming darkness. When she found it, her fingers squeezed them tight. John, are you well? She whispered. The child whimpered. Fear made his eyes wild. There was a low howl that pierced the drumming noise of the rain. The creature was still out there and getting closer. She hushed him softly. John, I need you to run. Do you hear me? You must run and hide. Don't make a sound. She squeezed his hand one last time. I love you, my son. Now run. Mama, run. With tears streaming down his face, the little boy squeezed out of the broken side of the carriage and ran along the road before diving into the deep shadows of the forest by the river. The sound of the rushing water competed with the sound of falling rain as John threw himself into the opening of a hollow log and scrambled into its protective shell. It was so tight, he could scarcely breathe. His little arms wrapped around his chest, burying his face against his knees and pressing his lips together as he heard the wet rend of muscle and meat being torn. The crunch of bones split the night air. John peered through the crumbling wood that was all the protection he had from the monster. He could see the shadow of a beast crouched over the horse. The deep breathing and contented rumble as the creature began to devour it filled the air. John could see glimpses of the horror through the tree, saw the creature gorge itself on the horse's rump and guts. Sated, it then prowled around the carriage. John could see the driver. He had laid still on the road and had never moved. Even as the creature raked it with his claws, the man did not move. John didn't know where his father was. He had been thrown from the carriage when it had rolled and disappeared in the night. And his mother, his dear, sweet mother, was still trapped in the carriage, but he never heard her cry out either, even as the creature shoved its bloody muzzle into the opening. It sniffed around inside the carriage deeply before withdrawing and resuming its feast on horse flesh. At some point, the creature disappeared into the darkness. Cold, wet, and exhausted, John stayed as silent as a mouse until his eyes grew so weary that he gave in to sleep. John Moore woke up with a jerk of fear. It was daylight. The birds were chirping in the trees overhead, and the sound of voices carried on the wind. John could see 4 men working at the carriage. They had ripped open some of the wood inside and were passing the body of a woman outside and laying her down on the ground with some reverence. One of them shrugged off his cloak and placed it over her out of respect. A little wail bubbled up out of John when the bushes above him were brushed aside and the figure of a man loomed large in his vision. The child yelled and pressed himself further into the log, but he was resolutely stuck. The man gave him a soft, pity-filled look and crouched down. "Oh, saints above, you're alive." He made a sign of the cross and peered through the hole in the log. "It's safe. You can come out now." He started to take off his own cloak. "Mama?" The child's voice cracked and wavered in a little wail. "Hush. It'll be all right." The man reached out, the white cotton sleeve riding up, and John looked at the tattoo of a black rose on his arm. His hand closed firmly around the boy's arm and started to gently tug him out of his hiding spot. "It will be all right." And now we're going to do a little time warp, and it is currently 1866. Your turn to tell me a little bit about your story. So I would like everyone just to quickly introduce themselves, who you are, what do you do, and where are you currently. So let's start with Jared.
Sure. So my character is Adelaide. She's a young, wealthy socialite. She's kind of inherited the title of Marchioness of Skilly, but rather than sort of stay and attend to her estates, she's basically fled the United Kingdom because of
Stuff.
some stuff going on that she doesn't really speak of. And she's at an age, she's 21, so she's, young and wealthy and basically just out to kind of enjoy life and leave all the problems behind.
Where's she currently hanging out?
She's moved around between the sort of salons of Milan and Venice and party scene around sort of northern Italy. And as always in such a life, there's inevitably the ennui of being able to get whatever you want whenever you want. And so she's kind of, always looking for something to kind of spark her interest, as well as, in the back of her mind, an eye on the things that she sort of avoided.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in that she has definitely had some experience of the otherworldly through her background as well. So she's
Yep.
kind of open to those kind of experiences.
That's cool. Well, we can explore that as we go. You're not in Venice at the moment, so how does Padua take you?
She'll travel wherever the latest kind of salon or party is. Sort of, Padua's fine, but for this week, but she'll be off
For this
to
week? Sure.
Florence next week or wherever she might go. Yeah.
Understandable. Now, Jim, give us a little précis about your lovely character.
Hello, yes. Dr. Theodore Bennett, sort of a young man. If any of your characters have spent much time in London in the sort of upper crust, which it sounds like maybe some have, the Bennett name would probably be familiar. He's definitely, he wouldn't describe it as such, but overshadowed by his father, Dr. Walter Bennett. And he too has left his homeland of London because of stuff. And I actually don't know currently exactly where he would be.
Be anywhere in Europe.
Yeah, I imagine he would be quite listless at the moment. Probably circling towards Venice, even if he doesn't realize it. But certainly.
How about Milano for the moment? You will get to Venice, I promise.
Oh yeah, that's fine. That
Very
works.
short order.
Yeah, that works for me. Yeah, he's very much a very well-dressed man, even while traveling. But there's a certain sort of nervous energy to the guy as well. Always tapping or fiddling. A man after my own heart.
All good.
Yeah. So yeah, just sort of a listless doctor.
Perfect. Sharon, you're next on my little hit list.
Okay, I am Miss Agatha Hartwell. I am a woman of a certain age. Never polite to ask a lady her age. Agatha is eldest daughter of a rector and his wife, English born. She became a governess, as is the way of things, and has served with many wealthy families in England. And early in her career, she was taken as an English tutor to Italy, where she has since stayed. And she's recently, within about the past 5 years, come into a bequest that has left her independent and no longer in need of occupation.
And where have you currently situated yourself?
Currently in Florence,
Florence?
where her inheritance lies.
Sounds like a plan to me. And Blake?
Yes, so Severino Guarini, young man, deliberately scruffy. He was in the Austrian military and he's making his way west towards Italy, just going from small town to small town, keep moving on, doesn't stay in one place too long. He wants to get lost in the crowd. Hey, young, fit and healthy, just scruffy. Not taking care of his appearance at the moment.
That's perfectly reasonable.
And he very watchful eyes. He kind of keeps an eye on everything.
So where is Savino at the moment?
Going to say Durzo. It's about 25k northeast of Venice.
Very good. So you are all in your respective locations. We've got Lady Adelaide in Padua, Dr. Bennett in Milan, Agatha, you're in Florence, and Severino, you're in Durzo. One day, out of the blue, you get a missive, a letter in the mail addressed to you specifically. And when you open the letter, it's dated the 30th of September, 1866. It's from a Signore Lorenzo Bonetti from a law firm in Venezia, Venice. The handwriting is either in Italian for those who can speak it or in English, and it's written in a heavy italic script with a dark brown ink. I pray that this letter finds you well. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Lorenzo Bonetti. I am a lawyer working under the direction of Signore Attilio Mariani. It is with great regret that I must inform you that Signore Mariani has recently passed away. Prior to his death, I was named the executor of his will, and it is in that capacity that I am now communicating with you. In his will, Signore Mariani has bequeathed you part ownership of the Villa Fanelaria in the city of Venice, on the condition that you arrive at the villa on October 20, 1866. Failure to attend the villa on this date will forfeit your stake in it. The villa is located at the junction of Rio della Torre and Calle di Agnella and has been marked on the map that you've been provided, as is some funding to offset your travel expenses. Should you choose to attend, I look forward to meeting you at 3 p.m. sharp on October 20 at the Villa Fanelaria, Venice. Yours sincerely, Signore Lorenzo Bonetti. So,
And that name's not familiar to us.
no, you don't know this name at all.
That's ruddy mysterious. Okay.
So here you are living your lives, and you get this letter with some money and be at this place at this time on this date. So, dare I ask, what happens? Do you go?
Yeah, I'm paranoid. I'm wondering how the hell this person found me so quickly. I've been trying to hide for ages, so I immediately pack my stuff and leave town.
In the right direction or the wrong direction?
No, right direction. No, I'm going. It's just I can't stay there. It's too easy for people to find me, obviously. So yeah, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
I don't know how tight that deadline would be from Milan.
Oh, plenty of time.
Yeah, I imagine Thomas ums and ahs for a very long time and considers a lot of very paranoid as well theories before dismissing them as ridiculous, but still not really able to come to any reasonable conclusion as to how this would be happening. He just can't resist it. It's probably one of those things where he decides not to go. He goes to sleep that night and he just jumps up at 3 a.m, like, that's it, I'm going. And yeah, packs his bag.
And away you go.
Yeah.
Very good.
Agatha will, first thing, she will go into the study, and because she assumes, of course, that this is somehow related to the previous owner of her house, because why else would some lawyer who she does not know be contacting her about a man she does not know?
Why indeed?
So she will go through the papers in the study to see if there is any mention of either of these names.
You spend hours going through diaries and ledgers and documents and letters, and none of those names are listed anywhere. Even Venice, even references to Venice are just scattered and it's generalized. There's nothing there that flags in your mind as being of importance.
Well then, she will call to Marta, her maid, and say, I suggest we pack for a small trip. I do not know how long we shall be. We shall have to make arrangements, dear.
Very good. And the good lady?
Adelaide is sitting in her salon mid-morning, kind of flipping through various invitations in this small 5-room apartment she's kind of hired for the moment. And, looking through various invitations and thinking, oh, how droll, another party in Milan. And then sort of sees this letter and is kind of taken by the mystery of it, wonders what this could be all about. And summons up Valentino Savarolo, her butler and personal servant, and says, Valentino, I think I might go for a little trip up to Venice. Can you arrange my coach so that we can just bring a few things? I can't imagine we'll need more than 3 or 4 trunks, have the appropriate outfits and so on. But, it should be an interesting diversion.
Absolutely. Perfect. So October 20 comes around, and it's the start of autumn in Venice. So while the sun is shining and it feels warm on your skin, there is a definite cool and dampness in the wind, but it's not really unpleasant. So Lady Adelaide is arriving by coach. Agatha, what's your poison, train or coach?
Coach, I think.
Coach. Savino, you hoofing it?
Yeah, I think I'm hoofing it.
It's only 25 Ks, it's easy.
Yeah.
And Jim,
Oh, I do love a good train. Yep.
that's fine. So the interesting thing about Venice is you arrive at the town of Mestre, which is on the mainland side, and you can catch the train to Venice, but there is no roadway. So you can all jump on your train for the short hop to Venice. So you arrive in Venice, and the moment you set foot on the lagoon side of the city, it is very, very different. The canals are the roadways. Pedestrians walk on sidewalks. There are bridges everywhere. It is a labyrinth. So that map that the lawyer gave you is very handy because it is a nightmare to navigate your way. And you're all coming from slightly different directions. So you very slowly, hesitantly make your way through the city. Eventually you arrive at the Villa Fanelaria just before the designated time of 3 o'clock. It's in a secluded area of the city and has canal access. It's also accessible via a maze of alleyways, calle. It's something you found was very, very easy to miss. So you walked past the alleyway entrance to the villa several times before you realised there's an alley here. It's very well hidden. And as you approach the villa, you can see it looks old, but most of the buildings in Venice are like that. But this one in particular, it's a bit run down and sad. There's paint flaking off the door. Some of the brickwork is stained with rust, and the external garden, which, as you noted, is quite rare in Venice. Greenery is not common. But that garden that runs alongside the house is now overgrown and unkempt. And at precisely 3 o'clock, a gentleman emerges from the calle, walks up to you. He introduces himself. Good afternoon, Lady Adelaide, Miss Hartwell, Savino, and Dr. Bennett. I am Lorenzo Bonetti. Thank you for coming. Lorenzo is a very tall, stately man in his late 60s, still strong, but is kind of at the point where that's declining. He looks at you all and claps his hands together in anticipation. I assume you have some questions for me. Or not. That's perfectly fine too.
How did you find us? I didn't think I knew the late master of this place.
Ah, yes. Well, in this particular instance, Attilo Marinari actually supplied your names in his will. I had to find you, or rather, his associates had to locate you, but once we knew where you were, I was able to send you the letter. Unfortunately, I know very little about the good signore. While I did provide him with legal services, he was quite a private man. It is quite tragic in his passing, but he left these instructions for us to make contact with you all, with the invitation to come to the villa.
I'll nod and kind of look at the others thinking, I look like the bag carrier to these people.
Yes.
To what end?
Scusa, signora, I am very, very sorry. I don't know. I can't tell you why. I can't help explain all this. What I can do, and he pulls out this ornate iron key and hands it to you. This is the key to the villa. It is yours now. It belongs to all of you equally. There may be answers in there, but unfortunately, aside from his instructions, I have nothing further to give you.
Sorry. And at this point, I would say that Dr. Bennett has got quite a good sweat on because he's probably walked quite a bit longer than potentially some of the rest of you have through Venice. And he's probably carrying quite a few bags himself, including his doctor's bag, which he's slowly put down. And I think he just questions, yes, apologies, tragic? How exactly what is the story of his passing?
Oh, the good signore, may he rest in peace.
Quite.
He fell down the stairs when he was leaving the Palazzo della Ducale, the Duke's palace, following a meeting, and broke his neck. An absolute tragedy. It's a busy day. The palazzo was full of people. We think he simply stumbled and tripped, and God took one of his own. He kind of shakes himself out of his reverie, and his smile returns to his face. But please, go explore.
May I ask how old the gentleman was?
Oh, Attila was 54 when he passed.
How big is this place? Are we talking 20 rooms, 50 rooms, 100 rooms?
I know not. I've never been in there myself. It's quite an extensive property. It's very private, very secluded. It's a lovely place.
And you have not entered?
No. The instructions were quite clear. I was to keep the key.
This is all very strange.
It is very strange.
Apologies, but is it possible for me to see the will?
Of course. And he opens up his coat pocket and pulls out this long piece of paper that's been folded and wrapped with red fabric, and he hands it to you.
And my name is actually there, like my full name, not just Dr. Bennett. I'm thinking, is this some weird mix-up with my father, perhaps? Or
So you read the will, and the thing is, it's written in Italian, which I'm pretty sure you can't read, but that's okay. But that's okay. Because as you're looking at the will, you can see it's written in this beautiful flowery script, and the ink is one colour. And then at the very, very bottom of the will, scrawled in another colour ink. Same hand though, but different colour ink. It's a bit brighter and fresher. You see your names. Not location, just your names.
I'll hand the will to anyone else interested after I've seen what I needed to see from it. And then if no one else goes for it, I very slowly, as if something's gonna bite me, to grab the key.
Yeah, no. I think Agatha would have handed you the key and taken the will and been.
So the Italian is conversational, normal Italian. This is legalese Italian. It is a whole other level. But you can piece enough of it together to understand that it's the last will and testament of Attila Marinare. It lists the villa, and it just details some bits and pieces like naming Bonetti as the executor, that he's done this of his own free will, he's cognizant. This is what he wishes to happen. He wishes the villa to be granted to the 4 names underwritten on the document, and they are to arrive at this time, at this date, at this location.
I think Severino will look at sort of Adelaide and say, "You've been quiet. Do you know this man? You've been here before?"
No, but what a delightful mystery. It seems quite a diversion to inherit a mysterious, quaint Venetian villa and with 3 strangers. I'm quite taken by this, I must say. It's most intriguing.
Quaint? I grew up in a quaint cabin. This is a palace. It's gigantic.
Well, people have different perspectives, no doubt. But you have me at a disadvantage. The Lady Silly is my name.
Oh, I'm Severino Garelli.
Charmed, I'm sure. And she sort of looks at the others. And who might you both be, now that we together own this property, apparently?
Yeah, yes, quite. Dr. Theodore Bennett. He puts out his hand to shake yours and then sort of pulls it back. Yeah.
You perhaps do not remember me, Lady Adelaide. You were quite small when I was a member of your household.
And she sort of looks, she says, "Oh my goodness, Agatha, Aggie, it's so wonderful to see you. What a charming coincidence, after all these years."
certainly did not expect to see you so far from home, young lady.
Yes. Well, it seems circumstances brought us together once more. We'll have to make what we can of it, it seems. This mystery. I wonder what we'll find inside.
Yes, go inside, go inside. And the lawyer goes up. There's a lamp outside the front of a wooden door. He strikes a match and lights the lamp. And it does this little blue psst, and then goes to a normal colour, and he closes the glass case. Very well. That is then my last instruction. Ladies, gentlemen, I will leave you to it. Welcome to the villa.
Do you need a place to stay? You don't have to leave. It looks like there's plenty of room. Are you going to be okay?
Si, signor. I live in Venezia. I'll just go home. Thank you for your kindness, however. And here, with a final wave, he'll toddle off the way he came. And he'll leave you alone at the front of the house.
Well, this is quite ridiculous. We seem to have some knowledge, some connection between at least you two. Perhaps, who knows? Maybe I have some. Did you know me as a child?
She's going to grab his face and look very, very closely in his eyes. I do not believe so, young sir. And then she'll do the same.
I feel like
to
Adelaide would sort of wonder...
He'll step back. He's like...
I feel like Adelaide would be like, Theodore Bennett, weren't you the younger brother of Catherine that I went to school with, as I recall? I don't know how old exactly your character is, but I feel like a certain level of society in London, they probably have some connection.
You'd probably have heard of my father and that I'm an only child.
Nice.
But yeah, you'd have
cousin maybe it must be of Catherine that I went to school with. I feel like I've heard of you. Yeah.
Yes, possibly.
Bennett's a very popular name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, you said he was kind of like a well-to-do kind of medical family, like maybe he's been to an elite school, so they often all sort of have connection, don't they?
Yeah. Well, I guess should we head in and I'll get the door and open it? Please, ladies first.
Don't push him in.
Indeed.
I'm not afraid or anything. I'm just being gentlemanly.
Oh, that's what we're calling it. Okay. So yeah, you insert the key into the lock, and it's a little bit rough, but once it kind of starts to engage, it turns itself smoothly, and you open the door. The first thing that strikes you is that it's cold and dark. And as your eyes slowly adjust to the light, you can just see that there's dusty, dark green velvet drapes drawn over the windows, cutting out your light.
Oh, we'll have to get some servants in here to deal with this. This is in a state, isn't it?
Doesn't look very inviting at the moment, that's for sure. And all the furniture is covered in white sheets. The whole house has been shut down.
You can see there's a lot to work with here, though. I think we can improve upon this.
So this does not seem like it was his Senor Mariana's residence or primary residence, or has it just been shut down since he passed?
Let's go exploring and answer that question.
Yeah.
So, as you walk through the house, you start to open doors.
Wrench open curtains.
Wrenching open curtains, lifting up clouds of dust, you're coughing and sneezing and tearing up. But you very quickly figure out that there's a lot of rooms in this house. There's a library and study, there's a dining room, there's several bedrooms, a cellar, there's a kitchen and pantry with a couple of small apartments off it for some servants. There's the attic, there's a well, a pozzo, smoking room. Of course, you've got a garden. So, yeah, it's a well-established home. It is definitely a residential home. I think you've kind of noticed, though, as you're trying doors, and they don't all open. Some of them open easily without any issue. Some you go to turn the handle and it won't turn at all. It's locked. Other doors, you look at it and the handle turns, but the door doesn't open. and even when you kind of shove your shoulder against to try and force it open, the door frame has warped so much that that door is stuck fast. Just out of curiosity, does everyone want to give me a learning roll, please? Let's do our first dice roll. Congratulations, Dr. Bennett, you got a 1 success. Adelaide got 1 success. Agatha got 0.
Zero.
May have learned from Agatha, but she doesn't always know everything, hey?
Oh, exactly. Sometimes the governess is wrong. And Savino got a success. So, for those people who were successful, as you're kind of making your way around the house, the back part of your mind is kind of ticking away, thinking, and the dimensions of this place don't quite make sense. It's really weird. There are more rooms inside the house than it looked like had the capacity on the outside of the house. So the house is bigger on the inside?
Intriguing.
Neat bit of architecture.
Those Italians, tell you
These
what.
Italians, you know.
Certainly not arranged along Euclidean lines, apparently.
There might be a bit of TARDIS action happening, but you know. Yeah, so you guys going to spend a couple of hours kicking around?
Agatha's going to go look for the housekeeper's keys, because if there is doors that are locked, then obviously from a practical servant nature, then she knows it would have been with the housekeeper or the butler. So
Yeah, so
into
yeah,
the servants' quarters.
actually in the kitchen.
In the kitchen.
In the kitchen, you can see there's a whole stack of keys lying on the table. What do you want to do with those?
Well, she will pick those up and go start trying locked doors.
Funny thing, that you put the keys in the slots and you wiggle and jiggle and you coax it and you cajole it and then you swear at it and it just refuses to budge.
It appears we need a locksmith.
I look around for like food or light sources. Like,
Yeah.
Is there oil for oil lamps? Is there any food if we're going to be staying here a couple of nights or more?
Yep. No food, but there are candles, so you can have some lights. But by this time, it's been 2, 3, 4 hours. And as you're exploring the house, you hear the door open and you hear people explaining. Dio mio, ma che schifo. And you hear these explanations in Italian coming from downstairs near the front door.
I'm pretty sure Severino actually speaks Italian, so what do they say?
I'm sorry. Dear God, oh my Lord, this is disgusting. It's not quite the direct translation, but it's...
Okay. I'll go down and talk to them. I'm going to presume they sound like servants that have been told to clean up or something.
Yeah. Okay, so you go downstairs and you see 2 people standing in the foyer. One is an elderly gentleman with a walking cane. Not too bad, but he's definitely in his 70s. He's old, he's weathered, he's lived a life. And a young woman with curly red hair. So you see them, and as you approach Severino, the man looks at you and goes, "Oh, you're here. You have arrived. Excellent. Welcome."
You were expecting me or us, or?
That is the way of the villa. It's the way of the...
The way of the villa. Have other groups come here before us, or is this like a test or something?
A test? No. You've already passed your test. There is much to explain. Maybe we shall sit down and get comfortable. However, this house needs a clean. Artemisia. And he looks at the young lady next to him. Can you maybe get some coffee on, please? I think these people need it. Yes, yes, no. Yes, no. And she bustles off into the kitchen and she starts preparing some coffee.
I'm helping tidy up because this is my home now, question mark? But I'm kind of keeping an eye on both of them because I'm like, who are these people? I'm hoping I didn't just interrupt some burglars and they're pretending to...
No, don't worry about cleaning up. The house has a way. It's just you. I thought that Attila would have... Because you should...
Yeah, I'll call out the others' names and say, that we have assistants come to help tidy up. You can tell there's a question in every word.
Come into the kitchen. I'm Vittorio Santoro.
Dr. Bennett, hand out. I'm sorry, you'll probably think we're quite ridiculous, but I have no idea what is going on here.
Oh, it's quite in order. There's servants that come to the estate. That makes sense. Or we can have them talk to our people and make sure we make suitable arrangements. Lady Adelaide, by the way, pleased to meet you both.
Lady Adelaide, very good. Dr. Bennett.
Bennett, yes.
Savino. And lady, you are?
Miss Hartwell.
Miss Hartwell. Very good. Please. So he kind of walks into the kitchen and he doesn't look back. He's not scared. He just walks to the kitchen and pulls out the chair around the table and sits in and sighs, resting his old bones. And there's several other chairs around the kitchen, and Artemisia is sitting there with some water that she's drawn out of the well, and she's lighting a little fire in the stove, so she's getting that running for you.
You seem at home here. Have you been here before?
I have lived and worked in the villa for my whole life, the same as Artemisia. My family has for generations. That is what the Santoro do here. But I must explain, and no doubt you have no idea why you're here, and that is common. So the Villa Fanelaria, the Villa of the Lights, has been in Venice for hundreds of years. This place has stood... How can I say this? Can you everyone just give me a vigilance roll, please? Okay, Severino, cool. All right, so no one else notices this as Artemisia walks around. But, Severino, you do. When a woman walks, you usually hear a two-tone, heel-toe, heel-toe, heel-toe. With Artemisia, you're only hearing a single tone every time her feet hits the ground. And you kind of stop. And even that thing inside you kind of, you have an indication that it's kind of tilting its head. And you get this notion that that woman isn't entirely human. And as you stop and study her, you can see that her ears are very slightly pointed.
I think when she goes past, I'll just kind of brush the tip of her elbow and say, "You're very light on your feet. Thank you for your help today."
Oh, you're very welcome. You're going to try and gain a glimpse of her ankles? But you got an extra success. So let's just say, as you kind of accidentally bump her skirts rustle around and they kind of creep up that little bit. And you notice that her feet are goat's hooves. And then the skirts fall down again with gravity and they disappear from sight. So Vittorio sits there. Okay, I apologize. This is complicated and I don't want to overwhelm it with too much. But essentially, the villa here, it's the House of the Order. We are part of a larger group of people who protect
creatures and
people like Artemisia. And Victoria makes eye contact with you, Savino, because he's figured out that you're seeing what she is. Different. You may not have identified her, but she's not human. So we've been here for a very long time protecting those people and creatures who are not like everything else. We take that duty very seriously. But the duty's a dangerous one. And sometimes people die in it. And so Attilo was the last of a group like you. He worked here for 30 years doing his noble duty, saving what we call the Vaesen, saving those we can save, and destroying those that were so bent and twisted they were a danger to themselves, to other Vaesen.
And humans.
That's what we do here.
I think Theodore just trying to gauge the room here to see what everyone else is reacting with. Like, it's like,
What?
yeah, exactly. Is everyone else just nodding their heads? It's like, yes, of course. He's trying to figure out, is he the odd one out, or is everyone equally like him?
I don't think Agatha has anything except a very stern look on her face, but her eyebrow is raising and raising. And you're like afraid that it's going to hit her hairline anytime soon.
It's going to launch.
Victoria, please, I'm sorry, I'm not explaining this very well.
This was never supposed to be my job. There was always someone here when new people came.
You can all see things no one else can. You see the things that go bump in the night. And you may not want to admit it to yourselves. You may not want to admit it to each other. But you have what we call a sight. Otherwise, Attila would never have reached out to you.
I feel like hearing this, Adelaide's probably a little suspicious, of motivation of these people, like hoping that they are who they say they are, but maybe wanting to just be a bit cautious. Do I get the feeling that that they are really genuine in this mission that they're professing to?
Well, give me a
Observation, is that right?
observation, please.
Failure with that roll. Do you want to push it?
So I won't push, but I'm sort of finding it hard to get a read on them. Then I think like they're presenting this, and I think, but they're sort of these somewhat mysterious kind of Lovecraftian house servants kind of thing that have turned up. So I'm not sure still.
We've always been here. I think I think Thomas was like, he's getting his pipe out, and he's like, "May I smoke?" Actually, it's my place. So I'm bloody well, mate. And he's like, for the first time, he's a little off kilter, and he's just immediately like gonna light up at the kitchen table here.
It's your house. Besides, this is before smoking laws came into effect, so go nuts.
I know.
Severino was just sort of relaxed a bit and smiled and said, "Well, this is the first thing that's made sense in about a week, so this is good."
I'm delighted. That is excellent, sir. We're here to help you and the Vaesen in any way that we can.
If you wish to stay.
We'll get your bedrooms ready and some beds made up for you, and it will be well. By tomorrow, this place will be like it's never been shut down.
That's all good, but this might be hard to believe. I don't have a lot of money. Who's actually paying you?
Let's just say that the order has its ways. It's not a lot, but it's certainly enough. And as you being members of our order, you will receive a weekly stipend.
So, and he gestures with his pipe to the others. So you all see things that no one else can see. Just trying to get a baseline here of what it is that I'm dealing with.
I am
Whatever could you
afraid
mean?
that I do not know to what this gentleman refers.
You know what? Go for a walk. Go explore Venice. She's a lovely city. We'll get this place ready. Go eat out. Plenty of restaurants. Go talk amongst yourselves. Come back when you're ready. Because you will be back. Because this is an amazing place. If you have the courage to walk through that door, you will
We
see
sure?
Metaphorically
Metaphorical door.
speaking, yes.
It's like a sweating kind of creepy scale-covered door in the corner. Sounds like an enchanting idea. I might leave my good fellow Valentino here to help with the arrangement of my my affairs, but I'm sure you can all cooperate amongst yourselves, and might shall we, my good folk, go for a little stroll around the canals?
Well, it'd certainly be good to go a couple of blocks in every direction just to make sure sort of we know our way around. So yeah.
Fresh air sounds just about right now. Yep.
Yeah.
Says a guy with a pipe.
Bit of fresh
Hi.
air.
What are you saying?
It was a well-recognised treatment for asthma back in
It's
the
good
day.
for the lungs, don't you know?
Correct.
So
So
for drowning too.
you get up and you head out into the city of Venice, the city of canals, and you spend a couple of hours just wandering around. You see all sorts of things like churches and marketplaces and plazas and pubs. It's a city. You have police station, courthouse, jail, mills, factories, a brothel or two, barbers, restaurants. You have got plenty to keep you amused. And on that note, we're going to leave it there for tonight and pick this up next session. So thank you very much. And let's do it. Cheers.